What's up, people? Welcome back to another episode of Stars and Garters. I'm Katie Pettit, and today, our top 10, I don't know if the subject of it counts as a fandom, necessarily, but, in some ways, it kind of does. Cats? Cats are kind of a fandom in some ways, because you have to be a certain type of person to like cats, and I am that person. But obviously, cats are in a lot of other fandoms, so I don't know if they count as a fandom themselves. But the reason why we are talking about this situation is that the top 10 that I have for you today, it was suggested by my mom, so if you think this idea sounds a little odd, blame it on her. But I am gonna give my top 10 fictional cats of all time. So, yeah. That's what it is. It's a weird idea, and to me, it kind of sounded like an idea you have if you're out of ideas, but it was something the mom made and suggested, and I was able to make a list out of it, which is always a good sign. So I decided, hey, why not? Let's do it. So yeah, let's jump into it. All right. So I'm not scrolled all the way down. I was about to I forgot a little bit about some things I put on this list. I was about to start at number 8, but I'm not gonna make that mistake again. Okay. So at number 10, we have a cat from a game that I've never played before, ever. And I have also only seen videos, like slight little clips and pictures, but I like the way he looks, or she, I really don't know. But because there had to be 10, and I was struggling a little bit to find a 10th, I put Judd from Splatoon. So I don't think we really need to talk about that because I know nothing about Judd. But it looks excellent. Is what I will say, and I guess, yeah, it looks pretty great. So that fills in the number 10 spot. Good job, Judd. Thank you. Okay, now on to the real the real stuff. So at number 9, I feel like a lot of people would have put him higher because, yeah, he's iconic and stuff, but I don't know. I just don't watch the show a lot. It's mostly like a purely childhood thing, but he's totally super iconic, and you kind of have to put him on the list if you're doing the lists. So at number 9, I have put Tom from Tom and Jerry, which again, it's more of a nostalgia thing. It's mostly a nostalgia thing. I did watch Tom and Jerry quite a bit, actually, when I was little, because I think, my granny had it on DVD or something, and we would watch it. Sometimes it was on, Cartoon Network. But I personally have always rooted for Tom. I thought Jerry was a jerk, and I really wanted him to die. So I've always been a fan of Tom, and I think that one day he is going to outsmart Jerry, because all Jerry does is uses mind manipulation, and cats are actually really good at that as well. So I think that Tom will one day have his revenge, and I firmly believe in him. Even though he sometimes teams up with Jerry, I never liked those episodes, because I was always waiting for the day when Tom would eat Jerry. But he never did, which is very sad. But one day he will, because he is a cat, and they always get what they want. So, yeah, Tom, I've always rooted for Tom. So I think for nostalgia and those reasons, he definitely deserves a spot on the list. But because I don't really watch Tom and Jerry anymore, it's not that I feel too old for it. It's just there's other stuff to watch, and it's just the format is not my thing. So because that's why it's not higher. But he's so iconic that he had to be somewhere on the list. So yeah, Tom coming in at number 9. Okay, the next one, I doubt that a lot of you will know who he is, but I've put him on here because even though I've only played one game with him in it, he was quite excellent and made a very good impression when on the game that I played him that he was in. So I have put at number 8. I hope I get the number right because Roman numerals really confuse me, but I'm pretty sure it's Red 13 from Final Fantasy VII Remake specifically because I haven't played the original. But first of all, if you don't know who he is, yes, he is a cat. It was confirmed. It is canon. He is more cat-like than anything. He's not really a cat because he's like a different. He's some sort of unknown creature, but he is like a feline in some way. So yes, he is a cat. Um, but yeah, he's a mutated talking cat-like creature that helps out Cloud and friends in their adventures, and he kind of acts like a I don't know, in some ways he acts like a snarky old man. He's very sarcastic and like quippy. He has a lot of banter with Barrett, I believe is his name, the big black guy with the guns on his arms. Uh, and he's really funny. He's kind of over everything. And he talks. He just has that vibe. He talks like he's over everything, and he always makes sarcastic comments. But he's also very good boy. He like he's I forget how he actually was able to fight, but his tail is on fire, so I'm pretty sure that came into play at some point. But he's very helpful and he's a good guy. He's like over everything, but he's still good and he wants to do the right thing. So he's a good boy, definitely. And also he just looks really cool. His tail being on fire is pretty great. He doesn't have an eye and he has like a mohawk, so that's pretty great. I mean, he looks pretty great. I honestly did think he was more of a dog, but it has been confirmed. He is a cat-like thing. He's a cat-like something. So I think he deserves a spot on this list. I really liked him a lot. He was one of my favorite characters because like everybody but Cloud, I was not actually too interested in the playable party. And then finally Red 13 was able to be played and I was like, okay, this is good. I like being a flaming cat who is over you and over this whole situation. So it was pretty good. He's great. Red 13. I always want to call him Red X because of the stupid Roman numerals, but it's Red 13. And it confuses my brain. I hate Roman numerals. But nonetheless, that does not make Red 13 any less great and deserving of his spot. Okay, number 7. This one, it's somebody from this movie kind of had to make the list, but it's very difficult to choose which one because there's a lot of iconic cats from this movie. I mean, they're all basically iconic cats, and I mean, I want to give Scar some love, but since he's like a terrible, horrible, bad person, and he's not a good boy, I did have to give number 7 to Mufasa because at the end of the day, he's a way better person, and I love Scar, and Scar is incredibly iconic. Be Prepared is obviously it's my favorite song, so I really do like Scar, but as a villain, and that does take some points away when you're doing like a character list. And so Mufasa is just he's a much better character. He's like a good character and Scar is a good character, but Mufasa is a better person, if that makes any sense. So yeah, just and Simba, I don't think he was. I mean, he's iconic too, but honestly, he wasn't really that much in the running because he's great. Like nothing against him, but Mufasa and Scar are like way better I like them a lot better. So yeah, Mufasa, obviously, all great things about him. He has like no flaws, essentially. He's a great king, he's a great dad, sacrifices himself for his son, essentially. He rules his kingdom fairly and also kind of tyrannically because he eats his subjects, and so it seems like a dictatorship, but also he has the voice of James Earl Jones, so it just sounds really wise and not dictatorly. So he's a great king. He teaches his one son, sad. He teaches his son good life lessons, like actually good life lessons, like responsibility, and that is the whole reason that his son goes and saves the whole kingdom in the end. He comes back and visits his son sometimes in the form of a big cloud, so that's really nice of him to do that. And yeah, all in all, Mufasa is just a great, great guy, great character, great dad, and also scarred a generation for life. So that's pretty iconic. Not necessarily a good thing, but definitely uh we all know Mufasa, and we all remember the moment. But yeah, Mufasa is number 7 and he deserves it. I'm sorry, Scar. Obviously, Scar has a special place in my heart, but as a villain, which is important. All right, number 6. This character is interesting because it just the like reason that he's popular is so different from who he is. He was initially as a character and like the first thing that he was in, but like the way everyone thinks of him now is from the movies that he was in. So at number 6, I have put Puss in Boots from the Shrek franchise and also his own franchise, but mostly his own franchise now because his movies were both really good. So, yeah. The thing about so I think he was introduced in Shrek 2, which was interesting because he is a fairy tale, but he was introduced as like uh what the guy just was so much different. Like he was Spanish sword fighter, suave cat dude, and it was weird and it was really funny. And that guy, what's his face? Who's the guy who? Dang it, I can't remember the name. The guy who voiced him, but he did a really good job, and it was just goofy and silly. But then he got his own 2 movies, and that's the main thing that makes him a great character because his movies were both pretty great. The first one was just great because it was like really funny, and then the second one got kind of deep a little bit. The second one is a really great movie. Puss in Boots: The Last Wish is a great movie. Like, it was a lot more. It was a lot less of like just a comedy movie. Like he has like an actual panic attack, and it's like real, and he has like death chasing after him. So it's all good and it's all fun. But yeah, mostly the appeal of him to me is that he's funny and he's a Mexican cat with a sword. So that's pretty great, you know. That was already that was already going to be good for me. It's weird sometimes, but it's weird in a good way. It's weird like everything else that came from Shrek is weird. It's weird in the best way possible, and they just took it and they ran with it. And it ended up being pretty great. So yeah, weird little dude, but super funny, and obviously as far as cats go, very iconic. So yeah. Puss in Boots, number 6. I also have nostalgia history with Puss in Boots, but not in a great way. So we'll just stick with the now reasons. Okay, so number 5. It's interesting that this cat is this high because I don't like the thing that he's from. It again, I don't know. Pretty sure it's a he. I don't like the thing that he's from, and I've only read the book. I haven't even seen the movie, and the movie is a lot more popular. Um, But first of all, he's super iconic. Like when you think of fictional cats, he's probably one. He's like the first or second that comes to mind. But I also came to like him so much more than anything else in the book, because the book was boring, and then this guy pops up, and it's like, oh, now the book is a fever dream. So I'm talking about number 5, the Cheshire Cat from Alice in Wonderland, but I've only read the book, so from I forgot the name of the book. Whatever the name of the book was. But yeah, I thought the book was kind of boring and weird, and I wasn't into it. I didn't get it, so I didn't like it. But then the Cheshire Cat showed up, and it got weird, and it became quite the fever dream, and I was into it. I was like, this is why cats should not be able to speak. Because like my little brother Samuel always talks about, he's like, we should, like, wouldn't it be cool if our cats were able to speak? I was like, and I always think like, no, because they would either say a lot of terrible things, like probably stuff that would have to be bleeped out if it was on like a live TV show, and also just stuff like the Cheshire Cat. Just be really creepy and odd and manipulative. But the Cheshire Cat is also a good guy. Like he's not an antagonist. He's just there. He says some weird things. He creeps you out a little bit, and then he goes about his merry way. And I like that, because he's not about all the drama. He's just like, there's a person. Let me completely creep them out entirely, and then let me get back to sleeping as the cats do. And I think he's great for that. I think this is what a cat would do if they were able to talk, and it would be pretty bad for those who do not like cats and are already used to them being weird. But for the people who already do like me, it would only be a small step up from their normal amount of weirdness. But yeah, the Cheshire Cat was the only redeeming thing about that book for me. It was just so, like, I was just like, whatever, stuff is happening randomly, and Cheshire Cat, like, he fit in perfectly to that, honestly, but he was a cat, so I liked him more. So perfect. Okay, number 4. This just this cat is amazing, first of all, and there might be some problems with me putting her on here as a cat, but she looks like a cat, and she's like kind of a cat. We're not still sure how the species things work, but definitely my favorite part of this movie. One of the reasons that I like this movie so much more than everybody else does is definitely this cat. And one of the like few Marvel cats, like Marvel has all these dogs that are important, and one of the few cats that gets some time in Marvel, but it's from the movies, so there's not too many dogs in the movies either. So, but it's not even. There's still more dogs than cats, even in the MCU. But this cat is wonderful and a big part of why I love this movie. So I'm talking about, at number 4, I have put Goose from Captain Marvel. Again, not sure how the species things work. Not sure if she really counts as a cat. But I'm gonna count her anyway, because we were never made clear on that. They are just like, they're just space cats. So I think that she counts. So we're gonna put her on here. Also, I love her. She's so great. I mean, just like, she, for most of the movie, she's just a cat doing cat things, and that's already incredible. Just causing trouble in general, scratching Nick Fury's eye out, which is incredible. Good for her. But then just it gets the amazingness gets ramped up even more when we discover that she is a Flurkin, and she becomes the MVP of the entire movie for a second, because she just eats all the bad guys. She does also eat the Tesseract, which is not ideal, but she's a cat, so like, she's gonna do what she wants, and it ended up being for the better. So thank you, Goose. Did anybody ever say that? I don't think so. And then she also contributed and like was the whole reason for one of the best part of the Marvels as well, because she has a bunch of little goose babies and it's incredible and they all eat people and it's so wonderful and it's just the best. It's probably it might be my favorite part of that movie because I was a little too happy in that moment, and it was all because of Goose. Goose the Flurkin, but also kind of a cat. So Goose is incredible, and I hope that Goose is in more Marvel movies because just I want to see Goose. Every time I see Captain Marvel, I'm like, let's see Goose though. Also, I do like Captain Marvel, but I like Goose more. Goose was the star of Captain Marvel for me, really. I think the movie was about Goose. I think the Marvels was definitely about Goose as well. About her becoming a mother and a great mother at that, teaching her children immediately to eat stuff when you think you should eat stuff. And that's a great lesson, I think, for young Flurkins. So yeah, Goose, excellent, excellent cat, excellent part of the Marvel universe. One of the best parts. Deserves much more screen time, even though she already gets plenty. She needs more. All right, this next one, we're at the podium, and this one is gonna be very nostalgic. It's so nostalgic for so many people. If you like comic strips, then you know this guy, and it's just it's a great comic strip, and it's so much nostalgia, like warm and fuzzy nostalgia, and all of that good stuff. Because at number 3, I've put Hobbs from Calvin and Hobbes. If I mean, it feels weird just putting Hobbs. I didn't even think about putting him on this list when I was first just pulling the first ones that came to my mind and putting them on this list because it's just Calvin and Hobbes are the character to me, but Hobbes is another character and he is a cat. So I would have put him on this list, and he ended up just being so much more iconic and so many more memories than everybody else because I didn't even know the comic strips were a thing until Dad gave me a Calvin and Hobbes compilation book kind of thing. I don't know what you call that. And I was like, "What is this? This is just a book, but I don't know how to read it because it's not coherent." But then I figured out the format, and I was like, okay, it's just little panels. Okay, I got this. But it ended up being pretty great. So yeah, just Hobbes is Calvin's imaginary friend for those of you who have been living under a rock forever. And they go on marvelous adventures. Ugh, sounded a little drunk. Marvelous adventures together. And it's quite wonderful. Hobbes is very he's very wise. He's very thoughtful. But he's also 6 because Calvin is 6. So it's really funny cuz he's Calvin's inner monologue essentially, which is hilarious because Calvin is hilarious and he's a 6-year-old, but he's also disturbingly smart for his age. So that is what Hobbes embodies, and it's really funny, and it's also really nice sometimes because there's a lot of just hilarious strips, but there's also some that are actually like story wise really nice and sometimes really sad as well. But yeah, but Hobbs is part of one of the most iconic duos of all time, and I feel like you should know who they are. And I'm sad that I didn't even know who they were at all before this. Yeah, they're pretty great. I think they should be required classics reading in school. Like replace uh what thing do people read in school? Replace the Scarlet Letter with Calvin. My gosh. I am not drunk, I promise. Just a little tired. With Calvin and Hobbes, because it's better, and it's more appropriate, and it has Hobbes, and it's better. So, get on that. But yeah, Hobbes, iconic and amazing character. Alright, number 2, I feel like people would not put this so high on this list, but you don't understand how happy this character made me when I found out that they existed, because I was like, this universe is already great. All it needs is somebody to have a cat. And then somebody got a cat, and that cat was awesome, and ended up doing a lot of good things, and not dying, because I was always worried this cat was gonna die for some reason. Well, not for some reason, like, everybody died at the end, but not the cat, because cats be surviving. So anyway, number 2 is Crookshanks from Harry Potter. So, like, you don't understand. I already loved Hermione so much. I love this book series so much. And then when I figured out, when I read that my favorite character in my favorite book series got a cat, you don't understand the level of happiness that gave me. Probably too much, but still, like, I was so happy. And then she ended up just being a cat. I mean, she is a Kneazle, which, again, it's like Goose. She's not actually technically a cat, but also she kind of is. So she's a Kneazle, which is a cat that can tell if you're lying. So, but like, she would, like, if they had listened to her, then she would have been the goat of the entire third book, because she would have, like, ended the whole problem, because she knew that, spoilers, she knew that Scabbers was that guy, Peter Pettigrew. She knew it the whole time, because she could tell that he was lying, so she was trying to eat him, and that was the right thing to do in that situation. Crookshanks was being smarter than anybody else. She was continually trying to eat Scabbers, and if she just ate Scabbers, then the whole thing would have been over. Or if they had checked out Scabbers because they listened to her instead of just judging her for trying to eat the rat, then they would have solved the whole problem and been like, oh, that's a man. Get him out of here. So she could have been the hero of the whole book, but nobody listened to her, and she couldn't quite catch him. But then she just kind of stayed there and did cat things for the rest of the series, and that was perfectly okay. And she was still a hero just for being a cat and being a wizard cat, and it was awesome. And I loved the fact that she existed, just made me happy. So yeah, Crookshanks. I loved that. I was so happy that there was a cat in Harry Potter that was kind of a main character, or at least connected, or like a pet of the main characters. And I'm so proud that she survived while everybody else died. I wonder how old Crookshanks lived to be, because Kneazles probably have different lifespans than cats. But nonetheless, Crookshanks is amazing, and she could have done amazing things if only people would trust cats more. Actually, don't do that. They are manipulative psychopaths, but I like them. So, number 1, I just feel like this has to be your number 1 if you're going to do a list of fictional cats. Like, there's no one more iconic. There's no one who's, like, been around so long and been in so many different forms of media and just been this staying and, like, relevant for so long. And just, like, out of all the fictional cats, I feel like you have to say this is number 1. Like, I don't understand, like, how you would say somebody else, because at number 1, the number 1 fictional cat, I have put Garfield from Garfield, the comic strip, the TV show, the movie, or any of the other things. Take your pick. Because he's been in everything. I have a Garfield poster on my wall. You probably cannot see it. I can't see it. Yes, you can. It's right there. There you go. Right there. It says, have you used your brain today? I love Garfield. Garfield's pretty great. I have a few volumes of his comic strips, not as much as I would like, but I don't have enough room on my bookshelf anyway, so it's all good. But yeah, he's just kind of the most iconic fictional cat. He was like the first main comic strip. I don't know if he was like the first, but he's obviously like the most prominent and first to be super iconic like comic strip cat, because there were plenty of dogs and like boring humans in at the front center of all these comic strips, and then Jim Davis was like, what about a cat? Because there's so like, why were people not realizing their comedic potential? Because they're psychopaths and they're scarily smart, but they're also so stupid sometimes. So they're quite complex creatures and have endless opportunities for comedy. And how was Jim Davis the first person to like understand that? Like I feel like it's an obvious thing, but nonetheless, yeah, it's just the most iconic cat like ever. So I don't know how else to put it, because if you've never heard of like Garfield the cat, then like even if you're sheltered, that feels excessive. Because like not even knowing who he is, that is not something that I've really heard of happening. So yeah, Garfield, he's great. He acts like a cat. He's like a jerk and he doesn't like anything, but he secretly likes a few things, and he loves to sleep and eat, which is, yeah, that's a cat. And he does really like John, and sometimes Odie. That he has some affection in him. He just only shows it very secretly, which is also a very cat thing. And he's also hilarious. It's because he's a cat. So yeah, he embodies everything that cats are. He can just express it in words. So he's amazing, essentially. So yeah, Garfield number one. Don't know who else you would put there. So that's the list. That's the top 10 fictional cats. What did you think of that? That was not as weird and just random as I thought it would be. It was kind of fun. So thank you, Mom. Your ideas are better than they seem at first, sometimes, except that one episode that we did that was still a bad idea, and I still regret it. But this episode was a good idea. I enjoyed it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you for watching. Make sure to subscribe and share and like and follow and comment. That's fun. Do that. And I will see you guys next time. Thank you. Goodbye.